Welcome to the Success in Africa podcast with Dr. Modupe, your weekly dose of leadership vitamins to make you successful in Africa.
Hello, welcome to the Success in Africa podcast, episode 7. My name is Dr. Modupe Taylor-Pierce, and I am a scholar and practitioner of leadership and organizational development. Simply put, I study what makes people successful. I've been studying this for 3 decades with a particular focus on people in Africa. And in this podcast, I will share stories, lessons, and insights about people having success in Africa. Why this podcast? Because I am sick and tired of Africa being the poorest continent in the world. We have the greatest resource in the world, that is young people. Africa will soon have the largest number of working age people in the world, and when these people achieve success, Africa's wealth will be unparalleled. Why? Because I don't know of too many Africans whose goal it is to die poor. Success in life is simply the achievement of a predetermined goal. Whether that goal is owning a house and a car, or creating employment for 1,000 people, or transforming your country into a high-income country, this podcast has been created to help you to achieve it. So, if you are serious about achieving success in Africa, I want you to subscribe to this channel. If you like the video after you've watched it, please click the like button. This podcast is brought to you courtesy of BCA Leadership, the largest leadership coaching company in Africa. If you have questions that you want me to answer after watching this podcast, just log on to BCA Online. The link is on the screen, and post your questions there. That is where I will respond to all of your questions. This month, I have been focusing on entrepreneurship in Africa. And in the past 2 episodes, I shared insights about how successful entrepreneurs have incredible faith to believe things that are possible when nobody else around them subscribes to that belief. And they know also how to sell, and they accept the responsibility of being the chief salesperson for their company. If you missed these episodes, I encourage you to watch them after you have finished watching this episode. If you subscribe to the channel, then you will have easy access to all the episodes that you have missed and can be notified of the upcoming episodes whenever they are available. Today, I'm going to share another key foundational aspect of being a successful entrepreneur in Africa. Entrepreneurs hunt problems and find solutions. Let me say it again. Entrepreneurs are problem hunters and solution finders. Why? Because entrepreneurs know that it is people who have problems that will pay money for solutions to their problem. You see, you may pay money to Vodafone because it provides a solution to your problem. That is the problem of how to communicate instantly to somebody who is far away from you, too far for you to speak directly to them. You may pay money to a restaurant because the restaurateur provides a solution to your problem. And that is the problem of curbing your hunger quickly in a manner that will not make you sick afterwards. You may pay money to a nanny or a daycare center because they solve your problem. That is the problem of taking care of your baby while you are away from your house, or simply need time to work or sleep while you are in your house. You see, successful entrepreneurs understand that wherever there are lots of problems, there is a lot of potential for money to be made through the provision of products or services that solve those problems. This is a mindset that is different from most normal people, because you see, most people want an easy life free of problems. Human beings, we tend to run away from or shy away from problems. This is natural. But to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to adopt a different mindset. You run toward the problem. You find the places that have the most problems, and that is where you head for. Because while most people are running away from the place that is riddled with problems, entrepreneurs are walking in the opposite direction. We are moving in to sniff out the problems and find solutions. Let me illustrate this by telling you about Amina Moghe Hersi. Amina Moghe Hersi is a Ugandan national of Somali heritage. She grew up in Bungoma, Kenya, and her mother was a trader who ran a small trading business in Bungoma. Her mother was a single mother. She had to work hard to raise her children, and she insisted on her children helping her with the business after they came home from school. So the young Amina would be charged with counting inventory, recording sales and inventory, because she had learned how to read and write and do arithmetic in school. Thus began her education into how businesses run. Unfortunately, her schooling days ended after Form 4 because of the cost of schooling and the limited value placed in the community with educating a girl child. When she was growing up, Uganda was in turmoil, with the failure of the state occurring during the 1970s, during and after the reign of Idi Amin, and Ugandans were fleeing the country. When she became an adult, Amina decided that she would buck the trend of people running away from Uganda and recognized that in a country with lots of problems there would exist lots of hidden opportunities. So she went to Uganda, she engaged the business community in Uganda, and she started supplying cement and other building materials to Ugandan customers and retailers. And thus her expansion in Uganda began. As she earned the reputation of being reliable by consistently keeping her promises to her customers, her business grew and she became a trusted partner. It grew and she expanded from selling cement and supplying building materials to building a shopping center and even a bed and breakfast and hotel. It didn't take long for the government of Uganda to recognize her prowess, and they approached her to partner with them to provide livelihoods to young women in the Akoli sub-region of Northern Uganda. These women had been abducted as child soldiers, raped, and had children who were culturally deemed illegitimate and thus not considered members of the community. You see, when these poor women and their children returned from the bush and tried to reintegrate into their communities, they were frequently rejected, even by their own families, and left to fend for themselves. Because land passes through the male side of the family in Uganda, these women were unable to make claims on their family's land to ensure their livelihood and survival. And when they contacted the families of their children's fathers, who were typically former LRA soldiers, they were similarly rejected. They and their children are no longer recognized as part of the community. A rather complex problem, right? Perfect for a problem solver like Amina. Amina arranged with the government to purchase vast swaths of land, set aside a portion of it for these women to cultivate, and then buy their produce, which would be sugarcane, for use in a sugarcane factory that she would build on the land. Amina saw the opportunity and mortgaged some of her properties as securities to get the money to bring in the machines for the sugar factory. She bought the machines from an Indian manufacturer that she contracted to install the machines when they arrived in Uganda. Unfortunately for her, the machines arrived just as the COVID-19 crisis started in early 2020. And the Indian technicians were unable to get on a plane to Uganda to install the factory. Amina was in a bind, with money having been committed, machines in Uganda, and nobody to install them. She engaged with the Indian manufacturers via Zoom to explore solutions to the problem. They finally settled on a solution, Amina would hire some of the brightest young Ugandan engineers, install cameras all over the factory, and then the Indian technicians would give instructions and training via Zoom to the Ugandan engineers that the Ugandans would follow to install the machines, while the Indian technicians were observing and oversaw everything remotely. It sounded crazy and innovative, and it worked. The factory was commissioned successfully at the end of 2020, and the Ugandan engineers acquired the skills, the knowledge, and the processes that they might not have even acquired if the Indian technicians had been able to come to Uganda and install it themselves. You see, notice that Amina, unlike many people, did not run away from the problem. But I want you to take note of something else. Also, when faced with the problem, she did not just wallow in the problem and complain endlessly with "woe is me" statements and lamentations about how the government is inept, or the weather is bad, or the system is not encouraging her. She did not spend her days hanging out with other lamenters to complain. Instead, she spent her time with solution finders and rolled up her sleeves to find solutions to her problem. Finding solutions to any problem, it starts with first believing that there is a solution to the problem that you are facing. This is incredibly important, because if you believe that your problem is insolvable, then your problem will be insolvable by you. If you believe that there is a solution to your problem, then you will not rest until you find it. And if you seek for it, you will surely find it. I have learned that in Africa, every problem has a solution that is already in Africa. The challenge we have is that many of my fellow Africans believe that the problems can either not be solved or they can't be solved by themselves or their fellow Africans. This is a limiting belief that we must let go of in order to do business successfully in Africa. The fact that you are not yet aware of the solution to your problem does not mean it does not exist. It simply means that you should look for it more honestly and tell other solution finders what you are looking for. And who is a solution finder? Someone who believes that there is a way. You see, successful entrepreneurs do not spend their time hanging out with people who love to complain and refuse to think about solutions. Those people will achieve very little in life, they will be unsuccessful, and they will likely die poor. So remember, if you want to run a successful business in Africa, hunt for problems. The more people that have the problem, the more successful your business will be, because the more customers you will have who will want to pay you for the product or the service that you would have created to solve their problem. And you will create that product or service by first believing that there is a solution to the problem, just as Amina Moghe Hersi believed that there was a solution to the problem in Uganda. So remember, hunt for problems. And when you find them, believe that solutions exist and start discussing solutions with other solution-minded people. Do not run away from problems and do not spend time complaining about them. Find solutions. That's what successful entrepreneurs in Africa do. This brings us to the end of our podcast for today. I look forward to reading your comments and feedback about the podcast. Next week, I will share with you another important key to achieving success in Africa. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and like this video. Tell your friends about it. Together, we can transform our beloved continent. See you next week.
Tomorrow belongs to those people who prepare for it today. See you next week.